Okay, welcome back. Which episode are we on? I don't even know. Five?
Five, yeah.
We're on episode five, and today we're going to talk about what anxiety is really trying to tell you. Anxiety is a big thing right now in the world. People are struggling, just makes sense. So we want to talk about it. I mean, I know I struggle with anxiety with different things about life, and I don't think you're not meant to have anxiety. I think you're meant to learn how to work with it. And anxiety is not really a weakness, as people think. Oh, I have anxiety, so I'm weak. It's your nervous system trying to send you a message that you need to come back to safety. You need to come back to being okay again. So let's talk about it. Not the one that we learn about online or even, they're making cute videos. There was a video called Inside Out 2, talks about anxiety, but really getting to the core with some real discussions from the master himself, Nachman,
Mhm.
of anxiety is what does anxiety actually feel like in the body, in the mind, in the soul? Like what is this?
So anxiety, good question. Anxiety starts off what I've experienced with myself and by speaking to other people. It starts off in the brain, and the brain starts sending me messages of I don't have enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have value, and the when the anxiety gets extreme, it goes to a place of why do I even need to exist? And it's a very strong feeling in a person's body where you feel helpless. It's a helpless feeling. It's a very hard feeling, and you want to get out of it. That's the feeling. That's the physical feeling. It's like a feeling in the stomach and the chest, just a feeling of the only way to describe it, it's an anxious feeling, but it's a helpless feeling.
And why is it so common? Like why do we have anxiety? What is it all about?
Yeah, yeah. So I think in our generation where it's not as tough to live as it used to be. And when I mean tough, you know, our parents, maybe second generation after the Holocaust, they got up, they went to work, and there was no time for emotions. You had to live life, you had to make money, you had to support your family. You didn't have too many distractions in life. Yes, there was TVs, but there wasn't any cell phones, and they went about life trying to succeed and work hard and whatever that looked like. And over the last 30 years, I feel that people it's less of a tough life. But less of a tough life means that it gave space to feelings. And once people started feeling, all those feelings started coming up to the surface. Those feelings that our parents didn't have the capacity to handle and to deal with. Now this generation is having to deal with feelings.
So you're saying that people back then had those feelings, but it was just suppressed, and now we're dealing with the repercussions of that.
We're dealing with the repercussions, and we're dealing with our own feelings. That feelings are coming up. We weren't taught by our parents how to deal with feelings. We weren't even given permission to have feelings. We were just told, toughen up, fight through this. You got to go to school. Too bad. And there is value to that. And I think there's got to be a balance, because I think sometimes parents today, anytime a kid has a feeling, like, oh, okay, fine, they give in to the feeling and they don't push the kid hard enough. But back then, when I was going to school, there was no choice. It doesn't matter if it was snowing, if it was raining, I had to walk to the bus stop. My feelings didn't even come into the equation. Today, now that my feelings are starting to come into the equation, what's coming along with it is anxieties, not only anxieties that I necessarily have, but even anxieties that I probably have inherited from my father, from my mother, from his parents. that it's just been passed down.
So why are all like why can't we just go back to the olden days and do things the way they did? Like why all of a sudden is there this space opening up for people to just start feeling so anxious and almost like people can't deal with it anymore? That's what I'm finding is like the medication prescriptions are becoming even stronger. Some medications aren't even working for anxiety. It's just like it's so there's an overwhelming amount of anxiety.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
why, why is it coming up now?
So I think there's probably a combination of things, and things that I could think about is when I went through whatever I went through, one of my desires as a child was I just wanted someone to listen to me. It was too tough to handle going through whatever I was going through, going to school, getting slapped, getting bullied, and I made a decision in my life, and my generation made this decision. We're going to be more available, more emotionally in tune with our children. Now we don't necessarily know how to be so emotionally in tune. We're learning, and therefore now our kids and ourselves are feeling this anxiety, and we're so much more exposed today, and there's so much more freedom today. Like back when I was in school, there was no kids dropping out of school. You just went to school no matter how, no matter if you were a good learner, if you were a bad learner, you went through the system. Today, a kid on his own at 14 or 15 is already telling his parents, I don't want to be in the system anymore. Why? Because he has a cell phone. He's exposed to other ideas. He sees friends working at 14 and 15. And he says, hey, why do I need to go to school when I can make some money and have a better life?
So you're saying as there's more choices, there's more freedom, it sounds like that's correlated to um, a an influx of anxiety that is happening in the world.
Yes.
So more
Yes.
freedom, more choices leads to anxiety. What is the root of anxiety? Like where does it all come from? If we're talking about like what is every feeling has a message. There's a message. There's a message to anger. Why do we get angry? Why do we get sad? Where does anxiety come from?
Right. Wow. That's a good question, because anxiety sometimes is not is not necessarily asking for something, meaning there there is a message in the anxiety, but sometimes people are just anxious. No matter no matter how much they have, they're anxious. And that could play out because I'm just I'm thinking that someone didn't have a mother that would hold space for them, that would be there for them, that would comfort them, that would give them connection. And when they went to school and they were bothered by people, by teachers, by friends, they had no one to deal with this anxiety. And ultimately, where it comes from is anxiety comes from a loss of connection. So when I feel that I don't have connection, or I'm not going to get connection, or if I do get connection, I'm going to get hurt in connection. That's very scary, because as a human being, we're born in connection. Our life is about connection. And when we don't have connection, or we perceive that we're going to lose connection, that could bring up a lot of anxiety.
So the anxiety is in general, if we're telling someone this is why you have anxiety is because you have a loss or a breakage in some sort of connection.
Correct.
And why does that make a person anxious? Like why should we're individual beings. We're independent. We do a lot on our own. Like what is it about connection or not having it that makes me anxious?
Connection is a fundamental human need. It's a need that everybody needs. It's not something that you could push away. If you were brought up properly and you evolved into a mature adult, you would be less inclined to need connection as an adult, because you have your connection needs met from childhood through your teenage life. And but when you're missing basics, foundations of of your need for connection, then you start going through life and you stop trusting people. You stop trusting to get into relationships. And even when you do get into relationships, you could start seeing this relationship as something that I'm in connection, but this connection is going to hurt me. And therefore you shut down, you isolate, you go into your lonely places thinking that I'm going to protect myself, because if I go into connection, I'm just going to get hurt. If I try to get connection, I'm just going to get hurt. So I isolate, and when I isolate, I don't have connection. And then I become anxious because my fundamental DNA is to be in connection with another person.
Why is that? Why is it a fundamental need for someone to be in connection?
So, yeah, someone asked me this question yesterday, and the way I answered him was, the rhythm of creation is connection. Hashem, God, created the world to be in connection with us. Uh, He wanted to be in connection, and he said to himself, or I guess I'm using funny words, but he said, or he created the human being that in our DNA should be for connection. Because if it's not in our DNA to have connection, then we would maybe have no interest in perpetuating ourselves. So it's in the DNA of all living beings to be in connection so that they could perpetuate their species. So when you don't have it, you're literally cutting off a fundamental need, a fundamental DNA need that we have as human beings.
But let's say a person isolates themselves and they don't expose themselves to any social settings, people in general. They just could be by themselves and they're numb the idea of needing connection. Like they cut themselves off from the world. Would they have anxiety if they're never going to be exposed to a social experience?
So I believe they would have anxiety, or they numb their feelings.
Right.
And I think that's a big issue today, that people, when they have anxiety, they try to numb their feelings. And what used to happen 40 years ago, we just numbed ourselves down, and we didn't address our feelings. Today, those feelings are getting exposed, and you have no choice in the matter. It's just being opened up for you. And 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 people are feeling it. And because we have so many distractions, very unhealthy distractions, like the internet, like our cell phones, food, whatever it is, the distraction of choice, it's actually making the anxiety even worse.
So no matter what, it's there. It's just whether I'm ready to feel it and face it.
Right.
Um, so explain to me this, so because I want to understand more. So I have anxiety because I need connection. Let's say, for example, I have anxiety around my bank account. How is that around needing connection?
Right. Very good. So it all goes back to connection. I'll tell you, well, I think so. If I don't have money in my bank account, the message I tell myself is I can't provide for my family. I'm not a good enough father. Um, and then I start putting myself down and moving myself out of connection, meaning I'm not going to be as present with my kids, with my wife, when I'm thinking these thoughts. I'm not good enough. I need more money. If I get more money, then my family's gonna be happier with me. And therefore it's it's not about the money. Money doesn't make people happy. It's about the internal happiness that I have, because there's people with lots of money in their bank account, and they still think they're not doing enough. They still have anxiety. And there's people with very little money in their bank account, and they're very happy people. So it's not about the money. It's more about my relationship with the money.
So every time, no matter what it is, no matter what anxiety is showing up, whether it's in my bank account, whether it's social anxiety, whether it's what's going to be with my kids in the future, or what's going to be with the war in Israel, whatever it is. It's just about me being out of connection every single time.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Even a war where you're scared that a ballistic missile is going to come hit your community and you have to run into a bomb shelter. That's a healthy anxiety to have. I should have some fears around that happening because that fear will motivate me to take my family into a safe place. But even that, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of losing life. I'm afraid of losing connection.
Well, there's where normal fears,
Yeah,
and then there's distorted fears, and the normal fears are like, okay, like I shouldn't let my kid cross the road without looking both ways, or about me being next to them, or I shouldn't spend my money like crazy because then I will have no money, or I shouldn't
correct.
take certain risks in order to have a certain value and connection to life, to being here. And then there's the distorted forms of anxieties where it's like, it doesn't even make sense why you're feeling that way. Like you've always provided for your family, and yet now you're thinking all of a sudden that you can't, and you have anxiety about your bank account. So there's the normal stuff, like the normal fears that prevent you from, doing something that would possibly take you out of connection of your life. And then there's the ones that just are my distorted thinking based on how I am in connection or not in connection with myself. So I know anxiety has been a real thing for you, and you talk about it that it's like a normal thing to have and for yourself. So not something you just study, but something that you've actually lived with. Can you take us back to one of those moments where you had a lot of anxiety or whatever was going on for you, and it had a real grip on you, and then what you discovered from it about yourself?
Yeah. So I I've had anxiety my whole life. Um, and as I the more I go into adulthood and take more responsibility in life, that anxiety will show up. So there's been times where I want to run away from the anxiety, but for the most part, what I try to do when I'm feeling anxious is try to sit with it and not to believe my brain. This cathartic feeling I'm feeling in my body. It doesn't feel good, and my brain is talking. My brain is saying there's not enough money. My brain is saying what if, and all these what ifs start playing in my brain, and I could focus and I try to meditate on a daily basis. And my main reason for meditating is to calm myself down and to learn to teach myself that I am in charge of what I could focus on. Because when I'm meditating and I'm closing my eyes, breathing into my body, and thoughts come in, all these thoughts come in, I start telling myself, okay, those thoughts, don't follow the thoughts. Don't go with the thoughts, because then it's going to distract you from your meditation. Go back to your meditation. Go back to watching your breath go into your body. And when I do that, then I'm training myself what I could focus on. So now an anxiety comes up for me and it feels strong. It feels out of control. It feels that I want somebody to fix it. It feels helpless. And the thoughts start coming in, and I tell myself, okay, yes, there's anxiety there, but you don't have to let those thoughts overwhelm you with what's going on. Just sit with that anxiety. Just hold space for it, sit with it, breathe into it, give it space. And eventually, if I really focus and I'm present with the anxiety actually loosens its grip, it weakens. And there's a message, to some extent, yeah, I need to provide for my family. So when I'm making a wedding and I need to spend thousands of dollars, and where am I getting this money from? Yeah, okay, there needs to be a motivation to make that money because yes, I have to provide. I'm a father. I I'm a husband. I need to take care of my family.
So you're making a wedding, real live example,
Yeah.
and you did make a wedding recently,
Yes.
and all of a sudden, because you never know in our world when your kids are gonna get engaged. I
Yeah.
know firsthand. And okay, now I got to make this wedding. I got to provide. I got to figure out how to get my 11 kids to this wedding or travel there. I got to get new clothes. I got to get a new wig and whatever I got to do, and then pay for the wedding. And then who am I going to invite and all these things. And those are normal because I gotta take action. I gotta go and do something. You
Mhm.
can't just sit there and be like, like hope that some money's gonna fall from the sky. And I gotta take action. But it's some of that overwhelmingness. It's almost like taking over me and causing me to act from the fear, from the anxiety, rather than be able to take the message, do what I gotta do, and feel okay. It's while I'm doing it, I'm actually not feeling okay. And so you did that. You were going through the wedding thing. So how did you, as the anxiety was coming up, so you're holding space for him, what message are you receiving about yourself? Like what did you discover about yourself in that whole process?
Yeah. So first of all, it's important to make a distinction because I really didn't want this anxiety to overwhelm my whole experience, which would not let me enjoy the wedding and I wouldn't be present with my family. So I really take time every day to sit with myself with no phones, no distraction, especially leading up to the wedding, to give myself space to deal with that anxiety. And then I would tell myself that anxiety is a department that I deal with when I deal with it, but I'm going to enjoy the wedding. And I made that distinction. And I really feel that I did a good job being present at the wedding, at the Sheva Brachas. And yeah, there are times that even during the Sheva Brachas, anxiety would pop up. So I would just like in the moment give myself this mental encouragement of, okay, just slow down and it's going to be okay. And nothing has to happen right now, and be present. Be present for what it is. Enjoy the beautiful simcha. Like my kid's getting married. That's the most beautiful thing.
And so what did you discover about yourself in that whole
Right.
process? Because it brought you into something. Meaning if you didn't have a wedding, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have felt that.
Yeah. There's a lot of messages that I've gotten from anxiety. One message is um, change, just change the my work habits. Like sort of approach business in a different way, more in a more calculated, in a more serious way, where I'm looking to build bigger, bigger growth. Um, Take it more seriously. Um, and I keep getting messages from anxiety throughout my years, and sometimes it's hard, but the message is that keeps coming to me is, Nachman, you're strong. If this is coming to you, you're strong. You got this. And that's a big message for me. That's that message of you're strong and you're going to be able to get through this, because I believe that Hashem doesn't give anybody anything that they can't handle. So if Hashem is giving that to me, it means that He believes there's a power that I have.
Yeah, it's like I like what you're saying because it's like a person could say, "Oh, I have to make a wedding. I have 11 kids. I got to figure out how to make this money. I got to build a business. I got to have more income. I have to make things happen." And you could be looking at that, and anxiety will take you to like, "How am I going to do this?" And for you, it's like there's a flip. It's like, one second, I am doing this. I'm a father of 11 children. I'm able to make things happen for my family. I'm able to make this wedding happen. And, the anxiety is coming and it's bringing me into my strength of look how much you're holding all together. Look how much you're doing. Look how you're already figuring out this crazy, unrealistic lifestyle because the anxiety is pointing you to who are you really? Who are you really? I'm my power. If I let the anxiety take me over, it's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So I'm connecting to my truth, which is my power, what I'm already doing, versus I'm disconnected. So I'm going to think, who am I? How can I do this? Like, there's a
Right,
distinction there.
right, right.
And I think that's a cool distinction. And, I think anxiety brings you to a point where you have to make a choice. How do I identify with myself in this moment? And it's bringing you into a real possibility of a choice.
I think biggest gift, the biggest gift that I got from anxiety was learning to be present. A while ago, I was thinking of things that I'm grateful for in life. And I was trying to think of a moment that I felt really grateful. And I not only just remember the moment, but really feel that moment in my body. And I noticed that it was hard to feel that moment. And I realized throughout my life having anxiety, many times I wasn't fully present. And I started thinking back, even things that I really enjoyed doing. I enjoyed playing baseball. Even when I was playing baseball, I don't know if I was fully 100% present. And what anxiety gives me is this gift of being present. Because in order to deal with my anxiety, I have to be hyper present with it. And therefore, it teaches me, okay, I need to be fully present with my kids. It's not just I'm hanging out with my kids, but I'm so involved, I'm so focused, I'm so with them in that moment. I'm so present that they feel like $1,000,000. Now, it's not easy because I've trained myself not to be so present, but what anxiety is teaching me is be present in everything you do, in every interaction. Doesn't matter who you're speaking to. And there's so many gifts that come as a result of that. There's less judgmentalism on people because I could walk into a room and I could start labeling people. This guy's a loser. This guy's that. This guy, I don't want to have anything to do with him. Or I could say, 1 second, everybody has a gift. Just be present to the moment and stop judging. And when I judge, it only is going to hurt me.
So it's like I hear that, and as an adult, we could say I'm going to be present to my anxiety because we understand the value of being with your feelings. Now, let's say a kid comes to you, one of your kids, and they're struggling with anxiety, or you could see that they're spinning out of control a little bit. Like, what's going to be with this? What's going to be with that?
Yeah.
And as an adult, the idea is being present, but how do you teach that to your kids? You can't just say, "Be present."
That is very hard. That is very hard. When one of my children will call me up and they're feeling anxious about something, I can't give them any advice in that moment. In that moment when they're feeling anxious, I just gotta really be there and be present for them and model being present.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. It's like you can't tell them to be present, but you can be present to give them what they ultimately need, which is presence. And if you're saying it's connection, it's present connection. I'm with you in this, and they feel connected to something that's almost like can hold them in the experience. Then all of a sudden, the anxiety can start to dissipate. It can start to loosen its grip on you. And it's because someone was there.
Yeah. I find when it gets hard, you know, someone has anxiety and then they're already almost self diagnosing themselves unconsciously, where they're saying, I need money or I need a better place to live. And some of these things I can't necessarily give to that child. I can't give to that person. But they're already telling you I'm anxious because I don't have A, B, and C. And that's a tough one to handle because they almost are telling you if you could solve A, B, and C, I won't be anxious. But I know that that's not why they're anxious. So yeah, I want to be present with my child or that person and sort of build confidence and build trust with them so that they realize, okay, I'm a safe space. And ultimately, we could figure this out, even though we don't accomplish A, B, and C. But it's not easy to get that message across because sometimes people don't have the patience to wait for the message.
And they also are being driven by the anxiety. So a lot of people will say, like, okay, what do I need to do right now?
Yeah.
It's like I need to do something. And there's one thing when I was a paramedic in Israel, they would tell you, you come to a scene, there's an accident that happened, or some sort of like explosion or act of terrorism, and you got all these people that need attention. And the first thing they tell you when you get to a scene is don't do anything. And the reason you don't do anything is because out of your anxiety to do something, to act on it, you're generating that experience from tremendous fear, and you have much more chance of messing up than being able to help people in the way that they need help, which what they need more is a certain sense of calm and being able to, while there's chaos happening, find a solution from a calm place. So do nothing, don't do anything. And, as parents also, when our kids come to us and they tell you, this is going on. Oh, let me deal with this. Let me go and fix this for you. Who do I need to call? What do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And first, let's see what's really happening here for the kid. Like, what is the real message here? What do they really need? Do they need you to fix this? So then they come to you for everything and you have to fix everything?
Right.
Or do they need to feel connected to you so they can now go back into the world and do something? And also, like a paramedic, you need to feel connected to yourself and not the result of what needs to be created here, but do it in a calm way. You have much more chance of actually having a positive impact. And I saw that. I saw that firsthand.
Right.
Many
Right.
times we would go to these situations and just firsthand you see, you stop, and then you have much more clarity about how to show up.
Wow. Yeah. I find with kids, and I think as parents, especially if you have young kids, like you're saying a bunch of good points. You want to be present with them. You also want to build confidence in them to take responsibility for life. Because if they don't take responsibility for life, it's going to cause them anxiety. And the tough one is the teenager, a girl or even a boy that has a phone. Because I feel the kid has anxiety, they look at their phone and they look at these YouTube shorts or whatever they look at, even if it's kosher stuff. But the fact that they don't feel good about themselves or there's a feeling that they don't like, they're bored, look at the phone, is causing more anxiety. Why? Because I think when you look at your phone, you're getting an easy, free dopamine hit. And when you get that free dopamine, you're training your body to be not resilient and to not deal with anxiety on its own. And when we were kids and I was bored, I had to figure something out. I would call my friends, let's go to the park, let's play baseball, let's go biking together. And that was I would get dopamine from that because I would create it, but I paid for that dopamine. But when I'm not paying for the dopamine, it's it's going to give me more anxiety in the long run.
Yeah. It's they say that dopamine is they say that pain and pleasure are co-located in the brain. So the less you have to work for something, it's going to balance itself out. Like if you get free pleasure or the instant gratification, you have to experience an equal amount of pain on the other side in order to feel good about that that pleasure that you got. For example, it's like you get a tiny little bit of pleasure after a long workout, but that could take you and last for a very long time. But if you go to your phone, it's there and it's gone the next second, because it the pleasure doesn't stay if you didn't have to do something to work hard for it. That's like every morning I'll go to an ice bath. Why do I go to an ice bath? Because I don't just take a coffee and try to get awake and feel awake, but I got to work for my wakefulness. I got to sit in the ice and wake up my whole body. And it's painful to do that. And it's really cold. And you got to learn how to breathe and do certain things and meditate. And then you go in and you come out and you feel like you earned your wakefulness.
Yeah.
Whereas you have a coffee, okay, and then an hour later you're feeling tired, you have another coffee, and then you have another coffee, and we're not earning our pleasure enough in life, especially because everything's been built around convenience. So, people are much better distracting themselves from being present and what's really going on, and they don't work for anything today. People aren't working for anything, especially now with AI, is people are working even less. So the the human touch to life is a sacred thing and a rare thing today. It's very
Yeah.
rare.
So the question is, with AI and with things so easily accessible, what is it that we need to do for ourselves, for our kids, so that they still have a sense of confidence and happiness and joy, and not run to all these easy quick fixes.
Yeah, so this is what I tell people today is what's really important is you have to find things that are going to help your children with facing things and overcoming them. Emotional resilience, working for things, teach them the value of working for things. So me and my boys all the way down to age 9 are we work out and we value the results of working out. We value the feelings of working out. And I got to be into it myself. Remember, like you said before, presence to my child is something that's modeled. It's not something that's told. So I have to become the example. If I want my kids to use less technology, I have to be someone who uses less technology. As parents, we have phones. We walk into our house and we think it's normal to walk around with a phone, to have a phone around your house. Your child doesn't.
Yeah.
And what is a child doing? He's seeing all day long that you're on your phone.
It's so bad. I'm
And
so
and
guilty of that.
and he's watching
Yeah.
you. Like, what are you doing? Like, so then when he wants the iPad turn or he wants time on the iPad, you're saying no. It's so not aligned to what's they're seeing.
Right. He's seeing you have it, but
Your
why?
phone's in your
Yeah.
bed, your phone's in the bathroom with you, your phone's at the dinner table, your phone's while he's talking to you, your phone's while they're doing the homework. Like, it's always there.
Yeah.
So he's learning, how do I deal with life? Is it got to be busy with my phone
Yeah.
or with distractions? So a kid needs to learn, how do we put away those things, work for things, enjoy. I go biking with my kids or I work out with my kids, like, and then they come back and they feel connected and they feel like they got something. But today, people aren't people aren't getting that because they're on their phones. So they figure, okay, you guys did your homework. Okay, now you can go iPad time for 2 hours, and I'm gonna limit the time, but you can still have iPad time because people don't know how to deal with themselves. They don't know how to deal with their kids. If we teach ourselves how to deal with ourselves and then model that, then our kids learn how to value and deal with those things.
Yeah. Hundred
Like my
percent.
older kids, and I love this. And, as I'm speaking about this, I'm teaching myself, you got to do some stuff around your phone. Me and my wife have implemented some things, but my older kids, they they're out of the school system, they're out of this, they're out of that, and they don't have any social media on their phones. They put on their own phones filters so they don't get distracted. Like, they did this for themselves without me having to say anything.
Wow.
To me, that's like, wow, this is amazing. It's like they went through that phase, they knew about it, and now they make boundaries for themselves because they value other things in life, and that's a learned experience. That's not something that, or it also could be learned in the opposite way. If their parents are constantly on their phone, they're like, I didn't like that, so I'm going to be different. But they 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 learn something. They learn to have a relationship with themselves. They learn to have a relationship with what technology can provide, but they don't live in the phone. You know what I mean?
And I hope that's what the younger generation is going to figure out. That they're going to figure out that yes, they have everything at their fingertips, and at the same time learn to be present, because otherwise we're turning into robots. You see everybody, presidents, actors, rich people, they walk around with a phone in their hand, and it's so funny because what's that phone? It's almost like that phone is the mistress, and it's not good. It's not good, and the next generation needs to figure out a sustainable way to live and a better way to live to not be on their phone so much.
Yeah, and if you learn how to deal with things like hard things in life, working out, going to ice baths, getting up in the morning for a minion, be committed to things and working for things, then what you're creating for yourself is not only that you're committed and you've built structure, but you've also learned how to face hard things, which a lot of times anxiety could be something very hard to face. So I'm learning how to face hard things. It's a skill. It's a skill for everything. Even Wim Hof says you go into an ice bath and you can cure your anxiety. And he's sort of right, but it's not like the direct link. But why? Because you are learning how to face something that you're afraid of
Yep.
and deal with it and
Yep.
overcome it. And I think today and with AI, that is going to be the most valuable skill going forward is resilience. How do I go through things and overcome them? Because today you can hide behind so many things. Like if you don't want to deal with things, you can just write a text message or an email, and you don't even have to write it yourself and express yourself. You could just give it over to AI, and AI could do it for you. But to go and deal with it and to meet up in person with someone and to have to face something and to have to say something and express something, and or to have to go out and work to have a good body, or to work on my relationship with food and hold myself back, and all these things, resilience, facing things, challenging yourself, these are going to be the most valuable skills going forward.
Yeah. Wow. It is. It really is.
So, what would you say to someone today that feels helpless with their anxiety? And as we talked about before, there's a difference between having anxiety and it's a compartment of your life versus this is my existence. Like people say, I'm anxious. One second, you're not anxious. You're feeling anxious. So this has become their identity. What would you say to someone who's dealing with anxiety and has done so many different things but can't come out of it
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
final message?
Also, it's not just, and I see with teenagers today, they're anxious about things that don't even make sense. They're anxious about all these new anxiety things. Um, the message that I have for people: there are tools out there. There are people out there. There's good people out there that not only have found a way to deal with their anxiety, but also are able to help other people with their anxieties. And you're not lost. You're not helpless. You're not alone. I'm sure everybody that you mingle with has some sort of anxiety. Some of us have it more than others. And we're here as a people. We're here as a community to lean on each other, to hold each other, to help each other. And don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to talk about your anxiety. I think that's that's very important. You put it out there, and there are people that will resonate, and you could even inspire people. People look at that and as it's really powerful. Oh wow, you're able to put that out there. And another thing is when you start putting it out there and you start talking about it, you will see that the anxiety gets easier because you're not holding it on your own. Even if it's you're talking to a random stranger and you about your anxiety, there's a certain load that gets let go of when you talk about it.
Yeah. Open up about it, share about it, talk about it. And for all those people listening, if there's something that you guys want us to talk about, that you want to explore, some sort of concept, idea within this type of work, please post your comments so we can address it. Like, we're waiting for your feedback.
Yes.
Whoever's
Yes.
listening all the way till the end.